Hello, my crafty friend. If you have ever started a journal and then stopped and maybe started again and maybe stopped again, this video might feel a little familiar today. Today is not one of my usual tutorials. It's more a show and tell. I want to share with you the different journals I have kept across my life, starting from when I was 11 years old, all the way to the junk journal planner I'm using now. And somewhere along the way, I realized something quite surprising. I didn't fail at journaling, something I believed for many years. I just kept changing how I needed to work with journals. So as we go through these, I will show you the journals. I will tell you a little bit about how I use them and also share what each of them taught me over the years. And maybe you will recognize a little bit of your own story in there too. So let's go. This is my very first diary. It was small, pink, and had this little closure here. It already had pre-printed dates inside. January 1, 1979. I was 11 years old. And at the beginning, I tried to do it properly. 1 page a day, writing about what had happened. But very quickly, I couldn't keep up. And I remember starting to black out the printed dates, just so I could write whenever I felt like it again, and the lengths I needed. Even back then, I think something in me resisted the pressure. And what I find really quite sweet now is that I had already started adding little things, like let me find here, like picture, a little note. I think even here's some cinema tickets. And I had asked a friend, can you see it's a very different writing? I had asked a friend to leave me a little note in my diary. So even at age 11, it wasn't just writing, it was already becoming something more layered. I think what this little diary taught me was that structure can be helpful, but only to the point where it still feels kind and nice to myself. And so that was the first lecture or lesson I got from my very first diary. The next one, this one here, feels very different. I started this when I was about 15 years old, and I kept it on and off until I was 23. It's way more adult-like, with some fabric cover, some leather here on the side. There are long gaps in here, sometimes a year, sometimes more. And then I would come back as if no time had passed, like it's as if there was no interruption. I would write when something felt important and when I needed to make sense out of something. And I think for a long time, I saw this as inconsistency. But looking backwards, this journal taught me that you can leave yourself, you can leave your practice, and you can still come back. There's something very forgiving in having such a long period contained in this journal. I love this, and it kept me going. The next journal I had was years later again. It was in March 2009 in 2009, when I started my psychotherapy training in New Zealand. And this journal feels way more intentional. I wasn't just writing about what had happened anymore. I was trying to understand myself. There was a lot of reflecting going on, and here you can see I started using art to understand my internal world in more depth. There was a lot of reflection, a lot of questioning, a lot of sitting with things that didn't have an easy answer. And here you can see again using like the beginning of some arts to drop a little bit deeper. It became a space where I could process not just events, but actual meaning. And I think what changed here was I stopped writing for the record and started writing for understanding myself. This one here is quite special. It's a 5-year diary, so each page holds 5 different years. And let me show you what I mean with that. It also had structure again, like you can see here, like 5 different years. And I started on the 1st of January 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. And before I started, I wrote 365 questions at the top of each page. Here you can see, what's your number 1 goal for the year? What are you most grateful for? Are you content? Can people change as a question? What was the last good thing you ate? What did you have for dinner today? What's your favorite TV series? What are 3 things you need to buy? What makes you sad? Describe your day in a haiku. Today I was so ... Glue something on this page. Like very, very different questions. Some deep, some meaningful, others really just funny and random. The rule I gave myself was I wasn't allowed to read my previous answers before writing the new one. And that was really fascinating because year after year, I could see how some things changed and how some things really didn't. The diary also covers the time around COVID. We all had these lockdowns in New Zealand quite extensively because I live in Auckland and we had months and months of lockdowns. And I think this one taught me something very humbling, that we are both changing and staying the same at exactly the same time. Even when a catastrophe hits, certain things are not changing. And I think that has quite, yes, as I said, a humbling experience, but also it gives me courage and it gives me a sense of safety that there are certain things in my heart and in my soul that withstand the outside circumstances. When I finished that after 5 years, and I have to say that was quite a challenge, and it also taught me perseverance. It definitely did, because latest after 2 years, I thought, do I want to continue? But I wanted to finish it, and I'm really glad I did. But when I finished that, it was at the end of 2022. I was wondering, okay, so where to go from here now? I wanted to continue with some kind of practice, but did not know what. What I find by accident is this YearCompass. It's a free printable guide that you fill in at the end of the year. And what I really appreciate about it is how gently but quite thoroughly it guides you through your reflection. One part in the very beginning invites you to go back through your calendar and really have a closer look at your year. Not just from memory, but by actually seeing what was there. So I would sit down, go through my calendar and my journals and all those small pieces that had quietly recorded my life and what I had actually been busy with and what I actually had spent time with, what events had shaped my year. What had I chosen again and again without even realizing? And sometimes that looked quite different from the story I thought I was living. I felt a little bit like I'm gathering my data, like very, very human data, like patterns and choices and the energy, where was it going? And then from that place, instead of setting goals on what I thought I should do, wanted to do, like really an informed decision, you go into the next year and almost like asking yourself, if this is how I have been living last year, do I want to continue like this? Or is there something I want to gently shift? And I think what this practice has taught me is that reflection doesn't have to be vague or idealistic. It can be grounded and honest and still very kind. And that sometimes the clearest way forward is to first really see where you have been. And here you can really see that's really beautiful little question, like magical triplets for the next year. I will love these 3 things about myself. I'm ready to let go of these things. I want to achieve these 3 things the most, and things like that. And this one I started in 2022, and then it became like a practice for me every year. Really enjoy doing this. Okay. One of the outcomes of this was that I became clear I would like to do the artist way. You might have heard about it. Most creative people know the book, The Artist Way. And I started it. And I started it here in March, like even before I thought about it, but I committed in March 2023 to The Artist's Way, and then started my morning pages, like writing morning pages, checking in, like the 2nd of April, the second week, the reflection. I did all the exercises, but I also did the morning pages, and the morning pages, they became part of my morning ritual for a long time. So this is not the Artist Way describes 3 pages, but because they are so big pages, I just 23rd of April, and then I back and forth I used to do the reflection. And it's stream of consciousness every morning, and this was very different again. There is no structure, no need to make sense, no need to be interesting. It was just letting the mind empty itself on paper again and again. And what I notice over time is that my thoughts become softer and less tangled, less loud, that this practice didn't create something beautiful, but it created space in my mind. And following the Artist Way actually helped me to create something beautiful, another way of journaling. It was the first time that I started junk journaling. And that was in January 2023. First time that I did my signatures myself, that I made the cover, that I covered the cover, that I started coffee dyeing paper. It was a year full of creativity and new experiences, and I loved every minute of it. I wrote down the basic principles for the Artist Way. I started gratitude journaling, 3 things I'm grateful for every day. It's the 2nd of January. But I also started playing around just with the different materials. I understood that it's not only words. I still wrote a lot, but it's texture here, like with lace and some washi tape, and like the 3-dimensional layers, putting in a letter from a dear friend, having these closures, some hidden things to discover, and being able to capture like really simple things, like really using my junk, little jokes like this one here, me going on the stupid little daily walk for my stupid physical and mental health. Like I loved it so much. This is a paper clip with Sigmund Freud on it, that I got from a friend. And yeah, things like that. Not only COVID but then we had storms and flooding in New Zealand. And here that was our fence that came down, and here that was our backyard completely flooded. And with that, I started using and creating this journal, and it's so much fun. All these interactive little elements here. I love it so much. So understanding I could tear paper, layer texture, glue things down, and somehow I still it says something to me. Even now when I go through it, it is touching me deeply in my heart. So it helped me to be less in my head and more in my hands. And I think this was the moment where journaling became not just something I think through, but something I actually feel through. And with the junk journaling came also for me the time when I loved participating in the junk journal challenges like December or here Junk Journal Challenge 2025. And when I visited my mother in Germany, that was exactly in July, I thought I will participate in this challenge. And this the outcome is very close to my heart. So because while I visited my mom in Germany, of course, I had very limited supplies. So I used what I could find in her flat, like old papers, bits and pieces, and even at a later point, I can show you some family photos. And there's something about like the limitation that I find deepens creativity. And also there was something with the place, like I was in the flat of my mom. It's the place where I grew up, actually, where I had my childhood, my teenage years, and of course all the memories that come with that. And it really moved me deeply, especially also having the possibility to speak with my mom about this, her seeing this little journal unfolding in front of her eyes. This is a map from Germany, and this topper here is a map from New Zealand where I live now. And so I can open it up. And she enjoyed actually seeing this unfolding. These two, they are my grandfathers. And while I was at my mom's place, I found these old photos, and so we made copies out of it so that I can use them here in my little journal. And of course, my mom had heaps of stories to tell me about it, like fold-outs. These are in Hamburg, like postcards from Hamburg. This is a adventure park near my mom, a little pocket here. This is from a little card game that I found in one of the drawers of my mom. This is the tea that we were drinking together. This is a little story she liked. Again, this is my mom actually with my grandfather. And this here is a copy of a certificate my great-grandfather got that he is a tailor. And so I had a little bit of sewing pattern here behind it. Very, very meaningful. Not just paper. Here are my flight tickets, but like history. Really, really, this is really meaningful to me. And I think what this one taught me is that meaning doesn't come from having the right materials. It comes from what you choose to hold onto and actually put into your journal. And doing this, playing around with mixed media, I, on the side, made a like very, very tiny, tiny, playful little journal. I liked that one here. This one didn't carry big meaning at all. It was literally just playful. It was pink, and it's here. Leave a little sparkle wherever you go. I thought, how can we use our creativity and our crafts really to bring joy into our lives, and exploring colors and combinations, small creative moments. And I think that mattered just as much to me. Not everything has to be deep. Some things can just be joyful and really funny. Here, these two, they were on a wrapping paper. I had birthday, and they were on the wrapping paper. And this is again like the color-coded cards for paints, and they had so funny names. Like, look at this. pretty, and this one is lovely pink, and here we have birthday party, and this one is I love you. And so if you are lucky enough to be different, never change. And so I really enjoyed making this. Use your wings. And like the pink little flamingos, they came out of a journal, like a normal newspaper journal, like out of limitation comes creativity. Yes, I said this before. And choose to be happy. Keep life simple. I've really had fun making this little journal. And of course, then in October 2025, I started my junk journal planner. And I have to say, I really love this one because it brings everything together. Let's even have a look back. These are the first 3 signatures that I made. This here is a traveler's notebook style one. I can take out signatures and can put in every new month. And this had been our October month, November, and December with the Defemorember. And the Defemorember also was holding the entire Defemorember challenge for me. Really enjoyable. I loved every bit of it. I definitely will make a video where I will bind them together in one journal, most likely with an open spine, but that's for another video. This one here holds everything I would like from a journal in one journal. It holds the reflective part. It holds the memory keeping. It holds the creativity. And so what I am doing is I have a mind map here that holds all of my to-dos. I have the calendar for every week that holds my structure and holds me accountable. At the same time, I can go deep with some of my reflections, some practice about mental health and well-being. But it also keeps memories of, for example, my garden, myself, some memories here from, this was a present from somebody I got. I had other photos from events where I went to. Here, this was some flowers I got because I helped somebody making a little blanket. Also me going for a walk, a card I got. I love this one. It's not separate from my life. It sits right inside my life, not choosing between planning and creativity, but letting them sit together with each other. Even some storytelling recently has entered my little practice. So let me have a look here. All the journals, all the little bits and pieces that came together. A life full of journaling. So when I look at all of these together, I don't see inconsistency anymore. I see actually adaptation. Different versions of me finding different ways to be met. Sometimes with words, sometimes with scraps, sometimes not at all for a while. That happened, as you could see. And still, it all counts. So if you ever felt like you're bad at journaling or that you can't stick to it, maybe that's not a problem. Maybe you are just still finding your way. And maybe you can find in all of this a practice that suits you. And if you feel like sharing, please let me know. What kind of journaling are you doing? And do you sometimes have problems keeping up? I love to hear from you, and I wish you a wonderful day. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.